There we go. All right, so it looks like it's recording. So I wanted to welcome you guys to our monthly team call. I am super excited that Beth is joining us because if you know Beth or you know me or you know one of us, I will tell you Beth and I are different in our personalities. And she approaches her business a lot different than I do. And so I'm super excited because I know I will share wisdom and ideas and tips and things with you, but I love hearing from other people because I know that there will be things that you will identify with her. And so I gave her just a couple of things, ideas of things that, or tips that I wanted her to, how she approaches the business. And so I'm going to kind of just turn it over to her to kind of just share some of her thoughts and ideas with you guys. And then at the end, if we have time for like question and answers, you guys can just feel free to ask whatever questions that you have. And we can just kind of, have conversation about anything you want to ask Beth. So I'll turn it over to Beth.
Okay. Well, hello. My name is Beth. I've been trying to figure out okay, where do I start? How do I start? Y'all know that I'm an Emerald. I've been with Plexus since January of 2015. When I joined, didn't think that I was going to do this. I thought I'm joining because my friend asked me to, and I'm going to help her. And that's why I joined. So that tells you very clearly, if you're familiar with the color personalities, that I am a yellow, 99.999% yellow. And I didn't know that when I started this, and I didn't know what that meant. And then as I've kind of, gotten into it and learned more, that definitely shines through in a lot of the ways that I work and operate and think and practice business. So I'm a yellow. I'm extremely introverted. It takes a lot to push me out of my comfort zone, but whenever I get there, I always see growth. And so you can imagine I've seen a lot of growth over the last 3.5 years. And every time I think oh, I got it, then I see that I have more growing to do. So I say that also to encourage you that I remember when I was working toward hitting that rank, hitting that, what seemed like a magical moment in time, that my perception was when you get there, you have it all figured out. When you get there, they're the ones that know everything and they've got it all done and they've done all their stuff and they're wonderful unicorns. That's false. And so just erase that from your mind now and just know we are all people and we were doing what we're doing and we're doing the best we can. And if you're giving it your all, then you're doing it and don't stop. So there's my encouragement for you there. I am no unicorn. So Tracy asked me to talk a little bit about how I engage people in business, how I bring up Plexus, how I message people, how I connect with people, how I follow up, and how I focus on retention. So I'm going to share just a little bit about my process and what that's looked like over the last 3.5 years. And I can tell you that at this point in my business, it has shifted because my team has shifted, the dynamic has shifted, and what I'm I guess the next level of goal is different. And so just kind of the way I've operated, or the way I operate now, has shifted, but the foundation stays the same. So don't forget that either. Once you hit a certain level, the foundation stays the same. So because I'm yellow, because I'm introverted, I'm learning about my Enneagram, and I'm having a crisis of personality, but I think I'm a 9. So all of that, thinking about all of those things that make me who I am, it's really important for me to be intentional and to be authentic and to show, to have integrity in what I do. And so I always want to approach someone like they are the only person I'm talking to. So I don't always use a script. I don't always use a message that people have created. I don't always take that and use it exactly. I definitely borrow verbiage because there's so many great verbiage examples out there, but I always try and craft a message and tailor it specifically to the person that I'm trying to connect with in that moment. Cold messaging for me is different too, because, all of those things that I've told you about myself. And so I start my process in engagement with a person on their page. So I choose, these are the people that I want to focus on. So I'm on their page every day. I'm looking at what they're posting. I'm seeing what their life is like. I'm checking in. I'm commenting. I'm liking. I'm really doing a lot of engagement with them before I ever message them. So then whenever I do message them, I know that I'm not coming to them out of the blue. They've seen my name pop up on their face, on their Facebook page or their social media. And because I'm doing that so intentionally, I know that they are more than likely seeing what I'm posting as well. And so when I'm doing that, my content shifts sometimes because I'm trying to utilize content that is going to connect with them and the audience that I'm trying to reach. And so I kind of try to use move my content around to reach the people that I'm trying to connect with. So that's how I start. And then I begin conversation outside of just kind of that general interaction, and move more specifically to, hey, I bet you've seen me doing this. I'd love to tell you more about it, or whatever it is in the moment that has kind of led me to saying okay, now's the time. And then I begin that message aside in a more private way. I've tried a lot of different things over the years in terms of getting engagement, getting feedback, getting people connected. And sometimes you just have to try until you figure out what works for you. I've tried standard messages at the beginning. I've tried cold messages. I've tried a lot more engagement and connection messages. And so I really think if you look at all of the things that are available to us, and one of the things that we're really working on right now is systems and creating systems for implementing throughout all stages of our business, is it's not so much that there is a right way that it has to be done. It's really about finding the way that works best for you and the way you operate and the way you connect people, and the way you meet people where they are. And so I think it can take some time to figure out, okay, this is my rhythm and this is my flow and this is how I do it and this is what works best for me. But when you find it, you know that you've got your sweet spot, and then you can build from there. So don't be afraid to try things, and don't, Suzanne, you said your heart was racing from putting that post out there. Don't be afraid of that, because that's definitely a sign that you're stepping outside your comfort zone. And growth always comes when we step outside our comfort zone. And so don't, if you're feeling that, then you know that you're doing the work and you're really, you're pushing through, you're moving forward. I see a baby, sweet baby. Another thing that Tracy asked me to kind of talk about is overcoming objections. And so I think that people can give objections about any number of things in this. Sometimes it's the smallest thing that you don't think is going to be a problem, they find an objection for. And I really think that objections are, I don't want to say excuses, because I don't know that they're always excuses, but I think objections highlight fear. And so I think if a person is coming to you and they're giving you an objection, I think it's important to kind of reframe that. Okay, what are they really saying that they might be afraid of right now? Or what is this, this is kind of a surface level answer for what is really going on with them, what's really their concern about. And so then if you get an objection, that can be a clue that you need to kind of dig deeper with them and figure out, okay, what's really holding them back? And is there a way to help them overcome it? Or are they at a place they're not ready? And I think that's important. And that I think kind of translates and carries over into retention. And so when you're building conversation and when you're making connection with people and when you're meeting them where they are and when you're really aware of what their issues might be or what their needs might be, then they're a lot more likely to stick with you in the long run, because they know that you're in it with them for the long haul. That it's not just about, okay, I need you to buy this right now because that gives me my 1 for the month or my 3 for the month or my 10 for the month. I know that I'm not just a sale to you, I'm a person to you, and you're going to like really help me with my stuff. And I think that's what everybody really wants. Like we all want to know that like we're important and we matter, and the people that we're connected to care about us in some way. And so if we're going to say to people like, we care about your health, we need to like really care about their health and really help them meet the goals that they are setting that they would like to meet. Does that all make sense? I feel like I'm kind of rambling, but anything more specific that you want me to talk about in relation to that, Tracy? Oh, you're muted. I can't hear you.
There we go. No, I think that was perfect. And I meant to kind of tell a little bit about how you and I initially started talking about that too, because I think that really speaks to you and how you do your business. And for me, how I felt when you approached me about it, because so I always kind of say like I was the product of a cold message. That's kind of whenever I'm like, oh, cold messaging, or oh, it's so scary to reach out to people. Like I was one of those people. I saw so many of my friends, posting about Plexus, and I honestly had really no idea what it was. I just remember specifically seeing Ryan having all this success with it. And I made a post just complaining about my student loans. And Beth reached out to me about that. And so, I mean, the first thing that struck me is there was a personal connection. It wasn't just because she was actually the first person who had directly reached out to me about Plexus, but she was not the only one. So it was like after that point in time, I had a couple other people that I knew from college reach out to me. And there was definitely a difference in the way Beth reached out to me versus the way a couple other people did. Because when the other people did, it felt so canned in terms of like, hey, Tracy, I see you're living in Washington or living in Portland. Like, that looks so fun. Like, I love seeing pictures of your dogs, so I'm sure you've seen, I've probably been doing Plexus, like that kind of stuff that just felt like it didn't feel that way. So when Beth reached out to me, she said, hey, I saw your post about student loans. So it was a very personal connection. And I just wanted to tell you a little bit about, I'm sure you've probably seen people posting about Plexus, and, it's been such a blessing for Logan and I with our loans. And I'm not even sure how it went, but like, I'd love to chat with you if it's ever crossed your mind, or something it was personal, based on something she had seen that was personal to me that I had posted about. And so, that takeaway, I always try to remember that in terms of like, what can I see that other people are talking about or that other people need that they don't know that Plexus is the answer for that. They're complaining about their health, or they're complaining about their finances, or complaining about having to go to work or things like that. And so I think that kind of speaks to how Beth does, because I think my red personality is like, I need to message 10 people today. So I go check, versus Beth making those connections. So I think that I think speaks to how Beth works her business. And it resonated with me because of the personal nature of it, so.
And I will say, like I said, I've tried a lot of different things. So I've had just as many messages like fail as that one succeeded. Like, that was a great success, but I've had messages fail too, or I get crickets, or I get like nothing back, or I get like a hard no. I've definitely had that. But I think that, I also think like there's no one right way to work your business. Like, there's not like, my way is not better than any other way. It's just the way that I found that works for me. It's my rhythm. It's how I do it. And I think knowing your strengths is really important. Knowing your areas for growth is really important. Leaning into those strengths and working on those areas of growth. Like, I think all of that's really important. But again, like, the foundation stays the same. Like, you have to talk to people. You have to connect with people. and you have to help people. Like, that's the foundation of what we do. And so if you're doing that, I feel like kind of the longer that I've done this, I've made it more complicated in my head at different points. And it doesn't have to be like you're talking to people, you're meeting people, you're helping people. That's what you're doing. And so if you're doing that, then you're doing an awesome job. Like, keep doing it. You're doing great.
Can you talk a little bit about your team in terms of, I guess, like, you know, like what your team kind of looks like? Because I think there's a thought that a lot of people have is like, if I'm going to go Emerald, I have to have like a huge team, like, and there's different ways to do it. People can go wide, people can go deep. So can you talk a little bit about, you know, how many, you know, like how many level ones you have, or how many, you know, and I don't even know all the details. I know that, you know, Brooke and Sarah and I know those 3 legs, but beyond that, you know, so can you talk about that?
Okay. So there are, you'll see different personalities of people too. So like some people are rock star recruiters, some people are really great at retention, some people are connectors, and you'll have, you know, kind of a myriad of that depending on who you're looking at or what your team is like. And so I'm a connector, and I'm better at retention. And so a lot of the people that joined me at the very beginning are still with me 3.5 years later, but I have lost some along the way. So in terms of like width, like when I went Emerald, I had 13 active level 1s. That was all, 13 active level 1s. And I had 3 level 1s who were team building, like who were really building big teams, like big, deep, wide teams. And so when I went Emerald, I had 2 senior rubies and a ruby, and a gold. So I think I have 6 people who are like actively building or like, you know, maintaining a team. But when I went Emerald, I didn't. I had 3 like that were really 3.5, 4 who were like really doing consistent business stuff. So it doesn't take it's not, I mean, the makeup of every team is different, and there's no one model or one picture that is, you know, the best picture, but it's important to have diversification in terms of like who is building and who is just consistent and who's sticking around with you and who's going to go silver and stay silver and who's going to like be a rocket and like shoot off into space. And so I had 3 rockets. I mean, basically I had Tracy and Sarah and Brooke who were like rockets, and they just, they went. And so I got to just connect and maintain and help other people go silver and help other people go gold and help get them kind of further along. But I had 3 really strong people who just did it and who just went. And you need both. I mean, you need a mix of both, you know, to be able to get there, I think. Yeah. Does that answer? Does that make sense? Yeah.
Because I don't know how everybody else thinks, but I always kind of thought people had, I mean, that you had to just be recruiting all of these people, and it's not, I mean, it's, I think the quality over quantity, you know, like you could add one rock star that, like you said, just kind of takes off. And yeah. So another kind of thing that I was wondering about, because I know I come to you a lot, or used to, I've kind of figured it out, but I used to still, even though I knew about the business, like the whole concept of like problem solving, like when people are having issues with you know, their products, they're not seeing the results they want. Can you kind of talk about maybe some of the steps that you do to kind of help problem solve or figure out? I mean, you know, we all love the people that just get on the products and feel great right away, but that's not everybody. So
yeah. And I'll say that has been the case less often for me than more often. So more often than not, I'm really walking closely with people through those first several months, and they're like, okay, today I feel like this, and what do I do about that? Okay, well, today I feel like this, and what do I do about that? So when I start someone off, whether it's a customer or a new ambassador, I am touching base with them almost daily the first month. And I'm just doing like quick check-ins. What'd you take today? How are you feeling today? What's your water like today? What's your energy like today? And I've learned to get really specific with people because sometimes people don't want to tell you the truth because they're afraid it's going to hurt your feelings, or they're afraid you're going to think that something about them, something negative about them, and so they don't want to tell you, what really is going on. And so I like to give permission. I like to give people permission to tell me the truth about what's happening with them, so that they know that, like, if you're not feeling good, I want to know that you're not feeling good, because my whole like goal here is to help you feel better. I don't want you to feel worse. And so giving people permission to like really like tell me, to get really specific and real with people, like, how do you poop today? When's the last time you pooped? What was that poop like? Like, to get really real with people and talk about the hard stuff, because that is what matters in terms of helping them feel better. So at the beginning, I really do stay in touch quite often with people. And then once I know that, like, okay, we've got their regimen pretty well sorted out, they're feeling better, they're in a better place, then I kind of taper off. So then maybe once a week, and then maybe every other week, and then maybe just kind of once a month from there on out. Like, how you doing? How's it going? But I feel like that has helped my retention for sure, because people know that they can ask me, they can come to me, they can tell me what they need to tell me. I think it builds credibility. Like, I didn't just like check you off, like you join me and we're done. I really want to know how you're feeling. I'm really invested in helping you feel better. And I have had, I've had people who maybe try something for a while and then are like, they kind of fall off. But because we're still connected, whenever something new comes out, or there's a change in a product, or we've got something that I think they wanted early on, but we didn't have, and we have it now, I can come back to them and say, like, hey, I know that you really were wanting this, and we've got this now, and I'd love for you to try it. And so even people that maybe don't order every month, I'm still keeping in touch with, because at some point, like, our product line is growing, and it's growing pretty rapidly right now. At some point, I think I'm going to have something that's going to meet their need in a way that benefits them. And so I don't want to count them out. And I can tell you that that's really important, especially thinking about how, if a person goes inactive and they're inactive for so long, then they can be taken out of the system, and then they can kind of be like a new customer for someone else if they've lost touch with the person that first brought them Plexus. And so I don't want somebody else to, I don't want anybody that I've called mine, in a sense, like you're mine, I'm taking care of you. I don't want anybody that I've called mine to feel like they've got to go somewhere else to get what they need because I didn't do it for them. So I want to just kind of be mindful of sticking with people, even if they're not, every month. Like, you're still a person to me. We're still going to continue this relationship, even if you're not taking what I think will help you.
Okay, so do you guys have any questions for Beth? What things do you want to know? What burning questions do you have for her? Anybody?
I'll ask. I always have questions.
Go for it.
I'm always still trying to figure this out. I don't understand. I still don't understand half of what we do, but that's okay. It's working. I truly you can ask the girls. I'm asking them questions all the time. What did Amanda said? The one, or Amy, you're an active leader achiever. I'm like, I don't even know what that means. So.
My favorite, Suzanne, was it last week when you're like, I just got a paycheck. What is this for?
I did. I didn't
tell you why you were getting money.
Well, I knew I know there's certain days that I kind of expected now, but that one kind of just showed up and I was like, I have no idea why. I don't know. So,
Because you're a rock
it
star.
was nice. It was great.
That's a good day. When you get money you're not expecting, that's a good day.
It was totally like I had no idea how I got any of that. So I guess one of my questions is, do you I feel like I forget my color, but I feel like it was yellow too. But I have a hard time like doing that cold messaging, or I watch tons of YouTube videos and everything about people who go out and just walk up to people and start talking, and works great for them. But I think I might turn around and walk the other direction. I wouldn't do it. So do you do any of that, or do you find that do you not need? I won't say I haven't needed it. I'm working on the cold messaging part. I know at some point you tap out of your friends and family, and eventually I'm going to run out of people here. But so how do you listen in, like if you're at Target and if you hear someone says something, they need it, and you're like, hey, this is me, I don't know. How do you do that?
Okay, well, I won't say I've never done it, but that's not how I operate, generally speaking. And a lot of that is because I've got a lot of personal growth to do. So that is an area where I am right now, where like everybody in my circle knows what I'm doing and how long I've been doing it, what it's for, and all of that. Like, I'm trying to reconnect with like people from my childhood that like I haven't seen in 20 years, and kind of build those connections back up as a way to like extend my, kind of circle. But I have a lot of issues in public with people, and a lot of that's driven by fear, and a lot of it's driven just by my own insecurity. And so like I recognize that those are areas where I've got to grow. But I also think, like you've got to know yourself well enough to know, like, is this an exercise in growth that's beneficial to me, or is this going to reinforce a sense of myself that I'm still like, I can't do this? Like, am I going to shoot myself in the foot by doing this? Essentially is kind of what I'm getting at. So would I like to be that person who is just like, my barriers are all down and my boundaries are like fluid, and I can walk up to people and not be awkward? I would love to do that. I'm not there yet. I'm still growing on that. I'm still working there.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Because me too.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to ask a question. Sorry, I'm just going to apologize for
No apologies necessary. That's a baby.
So staying connected is my biggest thing. Like I really, that's where I've got to get better at. But how do you keep track of everybody? What's the best way for you? Because I've got a notebook. I have it in my notes. I try all these different things. And what system works best for you?
I do best when I just make myself do it. And so and I do best when I think about it, I do it. Because if I think about it and I'm like, oh yeah, I need to do that, then it's like gone. And so if I have my phone with me, and if I am in any capacity can do it right then, and it comes to mind, I do it right then. Or if I'm looking at my calendar and I see like, okay, I've got this on here, like follow up with, and I'm sitting down and I'm looking at it, then I'm like, okay, I'm doing it right now. Because if I don't do it in the moment, like 18 million other things happen. And so I really think you're in a hard season of life, Amanda. Let's just call that reality. It is. And your hands are always full and you are juggling a lot. If you can give yourself, I don't know, like 5 minutes every, so often throughout the day, just for follow-up, and have 2 people in mind. Okay, like the next time I get 5 minutes, I'm messaging these 2 people. just, I don't know if that's a system that would work for you,
No,
but
that's a good, yeah.
however you can do it, it doesn't have to take a long time. It doesn't have to eat up a lot of time. I think sometimes I psych myself out and I'm like, I got to do it. And I spend so much time like, I got to do it, that I don't do it. And so if it comes to mind and I can just do it, I do it, because then it's out there and it's done, and I don't have to keep like ruminating on that. So, I mean, yeah, give yourself grace as well. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about, because I know I shared how it was that when you reached out to me, like what it was that really stuck with me, but can you tell a little bit, and I've heard the story, but can you tell a little bit about what it was that got you on board with Plexus? Because I think you were like me, where you saw your friends doing it. So can you talk a little bit about how it was that you were convinced? And then also kind of a second little piece of that, I know when you first started, your husband was very skeptical. Mm-hmm. So can you kind of talk about both of those pieces?
Yes. So, okay. So Ryan, our Sapphire upline, was my college roommate. We were in club together. We've known each other. Like, I met her on my first day of college. We've known each other since we were 18 years old. And have walked through a lot of hard things together in the time that we've known each other. So she started Plexus in August of 2014. I think that's right. I was pregnant. I was working a job. I was working 5 jobs. It was insane. And she started doing this, and she'd been really, really sick. And then she started getting better, and I was watching, and I was like, that's so awesome. And she seemed like she was in a good place. And we kind of lost touch, in the season of like having kids and like working moms and all that kind of stuff. So we hadn't been super close in a while. But she was on the board. I worked for a nonprofit, and she was on the board of a nonprofit at that time. And so she had a lot of like hard life stuff happen, and we kind of reconnected in that, because she needed help and I was her person. So she was getting better, so I knew products worked. I had belief in products from the very beginning because I knew they worked. I watched her be like extremely ill and then go to like health, like a picture of health. And so I didn't have any question about that. And she kind of mentioned it to me in passing, before the end of the year, like, you should do this. She invited me to like a meeting, like a opportunity meeting. And I was like, are you kidding me? I'm coming to, what am I doing here? Felt so awkward, but I went because she asked me to go, because she's my friend. And so I went. And then it was the end of the year, and she was like, okay, I just want you to come sit at my table, and just like, I just want to show you this. I just want to talk to you about this. And like, let's just, if you don't want to do it, that's fine, but just come sit down and talk to me about it. I was like, okay. So I told my husband, I'm going to go. She wants to show me stuff. I'm going to go and talk to her. So I went to her house. I sat at her table. She got out like this notebook that she had made with like all these different, like forms that are irrelevant now that we used to use. And she flipped through them. And then she wrote out the power of 3 for me. So she like just with like bubbles, just kind of bubbled out like the power of 3. And we had this moment, like we both were in college together. We both had student loans. We both had a lot of things that hadn't gone like we thought we were going to go. Like, we did the right thing, and like still we're not paying our bills. Like, how does that happen? Like, how do you go to college and get the job that you like got a degree for and still can't afford your bills? So that was our life. That was her life and my life, which is why I had 4 jobs. So anyway, we had this moment where she basically was just showing me the possibility. Like, this is possible. And we know this is possible because we know, like, there are people before us that have done it, and there's people that we know that are doing it, and we know it's possible. And we had this moment where we locked eyes and we both just started crying, because if this is reality, like if our life can change in this way, holy smokes, like how do we not how do I say no to this? This is the thing that I have been begging the Lord to provide, and it is right here in front of me, and I'm doing it. And so I came home and I told my husband, I'm ordering this and I'm going to try and do it. There are two moments in our relationship that we joke about where feet were stomped, and this is one of them, because he stomped his foot in this case. And he said the actual words, I am putting my foot down, and stomped his foot. You are not doing this. And I said, oh, yes, I am. Yeah, I am. So anyway, the first year was really difficult because he was not supportive, and he kind of poo-pooed it and kind of shamed it. And that was really hard and really difficult. And it kind of lit my fire even more. Like, I will show you, yes, I am doing this, and you are going to eat those words because I'm doing this. And so after the first year, I had ranked up to, I have my dates up here. Yeah, I mean, in the first year, I went from, silver in June to by April, I hit senior ruby. And that was a lot of hustle. It was a lot of hustle. And we had this conversation. We were driving back from his parents' house, and I kind of broke down, and I was like, I can do this without you. You see me doing it, right? I'm doing this without you. I would love to do it with you. I think that would be a lot more fun. And so we kind of had just this reckoning where he was like, okay, yeah, okay. So yeah, that was a fun time in our marriage. That was a fun year.
Do any of the rest of you guys have any other questions? I know we're hitting about our 45-minute mark, so.
Do any of you, do you do Instagram too, or are you strictly on Facebook?
Tracy is really good at Instagram.
I do Instagram, yeah.
My sister-in-law, Brooke, is extremely good at Instagram.
And Brooke, I will also add on that, Brooke is very good. Well, she's good at social media all over
social media.
But she's really good at stories.
Yes. I follow her too, and her stories are amazing.
Yes.
And that's something that I like. When we were at convention, we were standing in line for something. It was to get in, I think it was to get into winner's dinner, and it was a really long line or something like that. And I she taught me how to do stories, and I still do them, period. But yeah, so I do the Instagram posting. She's phenomenal at stories.
Yeah. That is an opportunity for growth that I'm working on.
Well, I have it just because I have a 19-year-old too, and it used to be the thing. Now it's Snapchat, but so I have an account. I don't know when the last time I looked at it, but trying to figure it out. I'm old. I don't understand a lot of this stuff.
Here's some of the differences I found. The people that I'm talking to and engaging with on Facebook are either people I know or are like friends of friends, or like I don't necessarily know them, but they work in my school district, or like that's more of a connection. The people that I engage with more on Instagram are not people that I know. And that's more where you find like branding yourself is a little more predominant in terms of like the people that I've connected with on Instagram. Like it's kind of like you start following people and like you have this like group of people that like, so I like Teeks, the shoes, Teeks, like yeah. I have so many people that like we all like follow each other because we like posting cute pictures of our shoes. And I actually have one of my she will have been a customer for probably almost a year now, consistently every month is buying Slim and Vital Biome for almost a year now. I don't know who she is, but she's a girl that loves teaks too, you know? Or like finding, like you find those people that you all kind of follow the same thing, or I don't know. So like that's more about kind of connecting with people you don't know through like hashtags or your brand or things like that, versus like Facebook. That's where I connect with. I find people that like I know, or like, oh, you work in my district, or oh, I met you at this event or something. Like I don't really connect as much with people that I don't have any clue who they are on Facebook. But,
Okay.
so
Instagram is a good way for the introvert to have those awkward conversations with people you don't know.
Mm-hmm. That's why I'm wondering if I just make sure, like, I don't know. I got to figure out how to get on and figure it out. But I was going to maybe just even, I thought if I ask on Facebook who has someone that knows that would want to meet with me, that's another opportunity to talk to someone about what I'm doing and why, you know, and then that, you know, so in my head, I'm like, this could be a really good thing just to talk to people. I could go meet with 5 or 6 people and they wouldn't know, you know, so, but it would be a way to reach out to maybe some other people, also learning something, but also being able to tell them about what I'm doing. So, that was like what I'm thinking of now, to try to get outside of my Facebook people.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
perfect. Any other questions? Going once.
There's a lot of challenges. There's still a bazillion challenges going on. Right?
Yes, there are.
So, trying to keep track of all of those too.
Yes.
Like, I don't know.
And that's where I would say figure out what you can do. And I kind of learned, I forget when it was. I think it was probably like the fall after I started in April. And I think the summer, you know, was like this period of growth. And then it was like into the fall, it was like, you know, it's like there's all these things. There's Jessica's team is doing this, and Ryan's team is doing this, and Tamara's doing this on her page. And then I want to do this with my team. And like, you know, don't feel like you have to do everything. Like figure out what works for me, and also what will work. If I do this, I can get some of my people involved in this. You know what I mean? So like figuring out like what's going to help you, and what would be helpful for you to do to have your people like join in with you on, you know what I mean? So
what do you guys do for samples? Are you guys believers in giving out samples or no? It seems like people are in 1 or 2 categories.
I don't send a lot of just like single samples, but whenever I start a conversation and I ask and I'm building kind of that connection and they say they're interested, I say like, let me send you some stuff. And so I send like a package of stuff. So I send like Success Magazine and a brochure and like as many different, you know, like little samples of things that I've got as I can. So I kind of just send like a whole like package, like a, Then I send samples, and that's worked well. But I think you can do, you can try a lot of different stuff. I think the holidays are a good time to use samples because it's a good way to get product in people's hands. Thinking about planning for health goals at the new year.
I will also use samples too for the sometimes for the sole purpose of gaining new interest. And so I might do like a post where I'm like, hey, I'm sending out samples in the mail, like who wants one? Or, you know, and that can be kind of hit or miss because sometimes I get 10 people that want a sample and I send them all out, and a week later, 2 weeks later, like nobody's tried them. But I still feel like sometimes at least I have an idea of somebody that might be interested. You know what I mean? Like I'm adding to my funnel of like people that, you know, even if I send them a sample and they didn't try it, they have some level of interest. Or I might do something like, rather than sending out samples, like I'm doing a giveaway. I'm giving away a 7-day trial. Like to enter the giveaway, tell me why you want to try it, or, like I've seen it where it's like A, B, or C. A, like lose weight, 6, better gut health. A, B, C would be like, getting better sleep at night. Like which one of these sounds more appealing? Comment below to be entered to win. Or you don't have to necessarily like just give away stuff, but you can kind of like
use it to gain interest. Yeah.
Or a lot of what I'll end up doing samples for is like people that are already like, I'll send, like I have a girl right now who tries Slim, and she mentioned something about, hey, do you have any samples of X Factor kids? I want to see if my 2-year-old would like it. And so I will have a lot of samples, and sometimes I'm doing that for customers or new people, like, oh, hey, you just signed up with the triplex, send them a little note, and here's a sample of Joyome or something like that. So samples can be kind of hit or miss. I would say don't rule them out, because in my mind it's like you never know what's going to happen. You could, like I said, you could send out 10 samples and 9 out of the 10 people never try it, but the one person that tries it and loves it and signs up and is your rock star. You know what I mean? So. Okay. Any other questions? All right. With that, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you, Beth, for imparting all of your wisdom to everybody. So thanks, guys.
Thanks for having me, y'all.